All right, let's talk about one of the biggest and honestly most frustrating challenges for any small or medium-sized business trying to go global: logistics. Getting your product from point A to point B. It sounds simple, but in reality, it's an absolute minefield of risks that can completely sink a growing business.
And this quote it nails it, doesn't it? You can pour your heart and soul into creating the best product in the world, but if you can't get it to your customers reliably and without breaking the bank, do you even have a business? Your supply chain isn't just some line item on a budget. It's a huge part of your promise to your customer.
So let's really pull back the curtain on this whole thing. What exactly makes international logistics this treacherous gauntlet, especially if you're not a massive corporation? We're about to dive into the nitty-gritty, the high-stakes challenges that smaller companies are up against every single day. Let's just start with a number. A huge one, 1,000%. That's how much container shipping rates spiked, seemingly overnight, during recent disruptions. Now, for a giant company, that's a serious headache. But for a small business with much tighter margins, a hit like that can literally wipe out your entire year's profit. Gone.
And you can see how this stuff just snowballs, right? It's a direct, brutal line from the risk to the impact. A congested port isn't a small thing. It means weeks of delays and really angry customers. Putting all your eggs in one basket with a single supplier? Well, you're not just being efficient, you're risking a total collapse if that one factory has a problem. It's a devastating chain reaction.
And you're fighting this battle on so many fronts. It's not just a backed-up port in some far-off country. It's having zero leverage, zero bargaining power to get your container on a ship when space is tight. It's the truck driver who doesn't show up for that final, crucial last-mile delivery. It's a sudden political crisis that shuts down a major shipping lane out of nowhere, and maybe the worst part? That sinking feeling when you have absolutely no idea where your expensive shipment even is.
Which brings us to the big question. If these disruptions are, inevitable, what are you supposed to do? How do you stop just putting out fires all the time and start building a supply chain that's actually fireproof from the get-go?
Okay, this is where we pivot. This section is all about a change in thinking, from being a victim of all this chaos to actually becoming the architect of your own resilient system.
This right here, this is the whole game. You have to accept that stuff will go wrong. A port will get jammed up. A ship will be delayed. That's just a given. But the chaos, the frantic phone calls, the angry customer emails, the lost sales, that part is optional. That part you can control.
And this is basically the playbook. For every one of those big, scary risks, there's a smart, strategic countermove. Worried about port congestion? Great. Build some extra buffer time into your delivery schedule. Freaking out about freight rates going through the roof? Look into forward contracts to lock in a price. It's all about anticipating the problem and having your solution ready to go before it even hits.
Okay, theory is nice, but what can you actually do? Let's make this super concrete. We're going to break this down into 4 immediate, actionable steps any small business can start working on, like tomorrow.
Here they are, the 4 pillars for a supply chain that's built to last. Number 1, diversify your suppliers, so a problem in one spot doesn't shut you down. 2, ensure every single shipment. I mean it, every single one. 3, get some visibility, some text you can actually see what's happening. And 4, find a great partner, a freight forwarder who lives and breathes this stuff, because you shouldn't have to do it all alone.
Let's just zoom in on insurance for a second, because this is so non-negotiable. For a tiny fraction of what your stuff is worth, you can protect yourself from a complete financial wipeout if it gets lost, stolen, or smashed. Shipping without it, it's like driving without a seatbelt. You feel fine, right? Right up until the moment you really don't.
And that third pillar? Visibility. Using modern tech gives you something incredibly valuable: power. The power to see a delay coming and give your customer a heads up before they get angry. The power to see exactly where things are getting stuck. It changes you from being a passive victim of delays to an active manager of your own logistics. It's a game changer.
And finally, a quick but critical point on something called Incoterms. Okay, stick with me here. This might sound a bit technical, but it is so important. Think of these as the official rules of the road for shipping. They define exactly who is on the hook for the goods at every step. Understanding the difference between a term like Ex-Works, where you, the buyer, take on all the risk from the factory door, and DDP, where the seller handles everything, is fundamental. It determines who's responsible when something goes wrong.
So, after all that, all the risks, all the strategies, what's the one big thing to take away from all this? If you boil it all down, it really comes to one powerful idea for your business.
This just says it all, doesn't it? A supply chain screw-up isn't a logistics problem, it's a customer service problem. Every single delay, Every lost box chips away at the trust you've worked so hard to build. Finding those weak links and fixing them before they affect your customer is one of the smartest investments you'll ever make.
And that really leads to the final question, something for you to think about. When the next big disruption hits, and it will, is your supply chain designed to bend and adapt, to absorb the shock? Or is it rigid, fragile, and ultimately just built to break? The answer to that could be the difference between sinking and swimming.